G'day there guys, 2021 is actually better than 2020. Do you believe me? It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love today's bloody good distraction from reality, I want you to sit back, relax, disassociate and have a bloody good time. Thank you. Posted by user MumsyWo. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife play stupid games, win stupid prizes, after she complained about my mum? So my mum can be kind of horrible. My wife and I make the conscious decision not to go no contact. She has a difficult family too, and no contact isn't worth it to us. She's always been catty towards my wife and my stepbrother's wife when they were married, but she treats the only son-in-law like a god. 6 months ago, we all went on vacation, and my wife and our then sister-in-law were drinking and decided to prank my mother. They egged and floured her, and yes, it was immature, but I thought it was great. My mum was pissed, but everyone in the house was super proud of them. Well, sister-in-law is out of the picture now, and we spent the weekend at my mum's vacation house. My wife went to bed early, and I was hanging out with my stepbrother. My mum decided it was payback time and poured maple syrup on my wife and then threw a mixture of feathers and glitter at her. I'm less inclined to find this funny because glitter is the devil, but payback is a beer. My wife was hysterical and screaming at my mum. My stepdad told her to grow up and that she started it. My wife wanted me to be mad at my mum, and I said she played a stupid game and won a stupid prize. Now she's mad at me for not supporting her. I'm inclined to say not the a-hole because you're just poking fun at them and, you're not really doing anything particularly wrong in this situation, but it's clear that you're being childish and playing the game just as much as they are. So for that, I guess that makes you an a-hole just as much as each other there? But really, this doesn't seem all too crazy. This seems like pretty tame as far as pranks go. So I guess it's everyone sucks here, leaning towards not the a-hole. In the comments, Piledriver says, everyone sucks here. Your mum does not sound like the only toxic person here. You and your wife are quick to criticize her, but are also happy to enjoy the vacation house. A prank war might feel cathartic in the moment, but it's not going to make things better in the long run. I think everyone needs to take a step back and assess how their own actions are contributing to this dynamic. OP barely mentions the vacation house. In fact, the way I read it is they enjoyed the holiday and the rest of the family, but not necessarily the mum or all of the house. They also didn't help with either of the pranks and were saying their wife started it and implied she should stop it too. OP also says that his mum acts catty towards his wife and former sister-in-law. OP praised his wife's actions initially and said she was great and that everyone in the house was super proud of her. Then, when his mother exhibits the same behavior, OP acts like he is above it all and that his wife's initial behavior exists in a vacuum that has nothing to do with him. OP has no interest in improving this dynamic and is content to egg, no pun intended, things on from the sidelines. Everyone sucks here. All of you have to stop being immature. Yeah, what the hell, sounds like a secondary school with all the pranks and stupid immature behavior. And Michael Chandra says, so you loved them assaulting your mother, and you loved your mother assaulting her. Everyone sucks here. Congrats, y'all deserve each other. Yup, OP, a lot of critique for your wife and mum deserved, but you're also very much an a-hole here. You can't egg on and praise your wife 1 minute, then leave her to be the one who takes the really unpleasant fall while you back off and call out stupid games from some high horse you just found. Posted by user A55709CK. Titled, Am I the a-hole for calling the police after my brother told me to go pick his son up from the supermarket parking lot? So my, male 33, brother, male 37, has a 12-year-old son, my nephew. Ever since my brother started dating again, he's been dropping my nephew off at my place to stay for days. I didn't have a problem with that, but I had work, and my living situation didn't allow me to watch kids. Everyone in the family doesn't help, and my brother uses this excuse to dump my nephew on me and go out for dinners, parties, and holidays. I was getting tired of his "one last favor, I promise" nonsense. I tried to find a solution. I yelled at him, I blocked him, I called him a bad father, but he just doesn't care. And with his girlfriend in the picture, the issue got bigger, obviously. I found myself feeding, cleaning, and helping with homework and taking them to school. I felt like I was my nephew's dad. I was only doing it for my poor nephew, but I decided enough is enough. My brother begged me to watch my nephew for 2 weeks so he and his girlfriend can go to a winter resort to snowboard and ice skate and enjoy the mountains and the fresh air. I said no. I have plenty of work and I can't take my nephew in. My brother insisted for days and kept begging, again saying no one wants to help or take responsibility. I decided to ignore his calls and hope that he'll stop. Yesterday, I grabbed some coffee and went to work immediately because I was late and I already had a long day ahead of me. I got a text from my brother telling me he and his girlfriend just left for their vacation and that he dropped my nephew at X supermarket and I should go pick him up and take him home with me. I was absolutely stunned. I kept reading the text over and over. I was so damn angry he started calling, I decided to text him no and wait, hoping he'll realize this was a bad idea and turn around and pick his son up. Or have another family member pick him up. But 15 minutes later, a massive amount of missed calls and texts from family calling me names, telling me that it's my fault that my nephew was waiting at the supermarket parking lot and demanded I go pick him up and take him to my house. I lost it. I called the local police anonymously and reported that there was a kid left in the parking lot. Next thing I knew, the police took my nephew. My brother came back and cancelled the trip and was being questioned along with his girlfriend. My mum and the family are livid, saying it was my fault and I should have picked up my nephew now I caused my brother trouble. Claiming my brother already took my word and thought I agreed to take my nephew, but I showed them the text that he deleted, which made my brother more guilty. My family call me an a-hole when they wouldn't take my nephew in, but expect me to do that, despite helping for so long. To add info, my nephew's mother is deceased. My brother had a girlfriend who was a very generous and kind person, but she left in 2020. Now he's with his current girlfriend, who in my opinion is a toxic person and irresponsible. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I think what I did was harsh and my brother is having issues now, but I literally couldn't take it. Especially after the family kept blaming me, basically saying it's my fault, as if I'm responsible for my nephew more than his own dad. I'm genuinely having a hard time grasping the outrageous victim blaming going on here from someone who is not the father of this child. How can you do that? How can you drop your kid off to the supermarket knowing that you're pissing someone off that doesn't have to look after the kid? That seems like a major disconnect from reality and absolute child abuse, neglect, and abandonment. I genuinely would be surprised if this kid didn't grow up with issues from the father continuously putting him on the back burner, chucking him to other people because he doesn't want to look after the kid. And I would hope that the family is protecting the kid from that realization, but, kids pick up on a lot. That's so sad, and no, OP's not the a-hole for doing it. They called the police, they made sure the kid's fine. This is a boundary that was continuously crossed and spat on. Something eventually has to give. OP can't be expected to continuously be looking after a child that isn't his. Not the a-hole. In the comments, Griffin Raw says, "Not the a-hole. You helped when you could. You couldn't, and your brother decided to call your bluff and abandon his child because he just had to take a 2-week holiday with his new girlfriend, who is also a massive a-hole for letting this happen. Just because your brother doesn't want to be a dad doesn't mean you have to step up for him time and time again. You did the right thing. That kid needs a solid home life." And OP says, I'm honestly getting criticism from my family saying it's my fault. But how's that my fault when it was my brother who literally created this issue and decided to once again override my decisions and force me to take my nephew in? His girlfriend has the nerve to actually talk about what a terrible brother I am just for saying no. I can only imagine what she thinks of me now. OP, please take this to heart because you really, really need to remember this and remind your family of this. You did not leave your nephew alone at a supermarket, your brother did. Your nephew would not have been in this situation if it were not for your brother's actions. What if you were in a meeting and couldn't check your phone? What if your phone was dead? What if you had your phone on Do Not Disturb and didn't check it for a couple of hours? Screw it, what if you were in an accident on your way to work and in the hospital? There were so many things that could have prevented you from getting to your nephew. You told your brother no. You told him you were busy, and when he told you he abandoned his child at the supermarket, you said you would not get him, and he still didn't go back for him. He's bloody lucky his kid is okay. You were nowhere near the a-hole. Shestami says, block all family members blaming you. They're unreasonable, and your brother is beyond irresponsible. He deserves to have his kid removed permanently. The untold emotional damage he's doing due to the frequent abandonment must be enormous. I feel terribly for the 12-year-old. As for you, you absolutely did the right thing, and hopefully this poses a huge wake-up call to your brother, not the a-hole. The emotional damage he's creating is called post-traumatic stress disorder of abandonment. I know because it happened to me, and I've been dealing with several issues my whole life because of it. It's horrible. I hope someone helps the kid get professional help ASAP. PTSD of abandonment is a very serious condition. I seriously can't even begin to imagine how this is going to F the kid up for the rest of his life. He needs to be shown that he is loved ASAP. OP has been the only reliable family figure in his life. You are so not the a-hole, OP. Your brother, on the other hand, deserves punishment for child abandonment and neglect to the fullest extent of the law. Your family also sucks for enabling him. It's so ridiculous that they don't see their own hypocrisy. If you're to step up and care for your nephew, where the hell are they? How can they reasonably expect you to contribute when they've ignored the problem themselves? Ugh. Send this post to your family, and then go no contact. Edit. He's your older brother too? The man is almost 40 and gallivanting around like this? I seriously can't imagine he'll get his act together. If anything... Oh my god, Siri just activated, Jesus Christ. If anything, I worry he's going to resent your nephew and mistreat him further. I'm normally an optimist, but crappy parenting tends to make me expect the worst in people. Posted by user South to West Confused. Titled, Am I the a-hole for talking about things from the South when I moved to California that resulted in several co-workers calling me a racist and reporting me to HR? Throwaway here, I'll make this quick. Me, 24 male, raised for most of my life in the southern US, politically middle of the road, probably lean a little left, half white, half Egyptian, so light-skinned. Relevant later. Think Rami Malek, or Malik, I don't know, he's just so sexy in that latest movie. I moved from the southern US to Cali about 6 months ago. I have a pretty noticeable southern accent. I started work in my field, office job, when I got there. I moved for 2 reasons. Job, and I wanted to get away from the super conservative area I lived in. Office is pretty large and pretty diverse as far as racially. Now on to the story. Co-workers and I were discussing camping. Was a fun talk until mosquitoes were brought up. One co-worker said something to the effect of, I always get bit and itch for days. They're the worst. I then said, mosquitoes are easy. We have redacted word I can't say that, and they're millions times worse if you get a bunch of them. Tiny bug makes you itch for days to weeks. It's awful. They're all over the South. We finished the conversation and everyone went back to work. Next day, I was pulled into HR with several of my coworkers to try and mediate an issue. One black and one white coworker that were a part of the camping talk had reported me for being racist. They say any word near the N-word is racist, and because I'm white, I can't use that term as it's so close. That words are what everyone calls them. I told my side of the story and also informed them I was half Egyptian, which I phrased as I was born in Africa to a white mum and an Egyptian dad, which is relevant in a minute. Here is where I might have been the a-hole. HR basically said it doesn't look like a problem after Googling the insects in question, and it's a misunderstanding. I asked my coworkers if we couldn't throw the race card around, and just because I'm light-skinned and have a southern accent doesn't mean I'm a racist. They both basically started apologizing like crazy, saying they didn't know, etc., etc. Basically, I pulled the race card asking them not to, but I feel mine was justified. What do y'all think? I would like to think that this is definitely, a situation where it can be not the a-hole, and by the context, cultural context, historical context that OP has given, they are of African descent. They were raised in the South, that's what everyone called them. I feel like in this context, it's at least socially acceptable. Would we blame a native Mandarin speaker for what they say when they're trying to fill in the gaps like we do with English? When we say, they say a word very similar to that one to fill in the gaps that's not Would we also report them to HR for being racist if we were in the same situation in a California office space? I think that OP did pull the race card in this situation, but I think it was an acceptable use of it because it's like, you activated my trap card. Obviously that's satire, that's definitely satire, that is satire. But personally, I think those co-workers were the only ones with an issue here. OP wasn't being overtly racist, they weren't being an a-hole, they were just identifying a creature by the name that they know it as. HR agrees with OP that they were not being racist and it was just a misunderstanding. So I think, OP is not the a-hole. I'm inclined to go no a-holes here, but I want to go not the a-hole because that's my gut feeling. In the comments, St. Elvis says, not the a-hole. I've never lived south of the Mason-Dixon line, and those things are still a term I'm well familiar with. Right? Everyone calls them like that east of Oklahoma. Not the a-hole. Who the hell hasn't heard of them? I was born and raised in California, lived there until after college. There's mountains and hiking, and sure as hell there are those insects. Not to the extent that there are in the South, but they're there. Edit, so I'm gonna say that I'm the a-hole for assuming this critter was common knowledge, when that clearly isn't the case. As so many others have noted, that even though they'd never heard the term, they understood from context that it was an insect of sorts. Today I learned those little idiots are everywhere. I met a guy with that nickname once. I learned very quickly it's because he's so annoying that everything he does just gets under your skin. The nickname didn't even bother the poor guy. So instead of asking what they are, they assumed you were saying something close to the N-word? While you guys were talking about insects. What the hell? Not the a-hole. Worse, it almost sounds like they knew what it meant, but in their wokeness have decided that any word near the N-word is racist. Near, as in, just sounds a little like. It's disingenuous at best. Social pressure. Once one person calls something racist, everyone has to agree or be called racist themselves, even if they don't actually believe it. And Funky Orange Penguin says, not the a-hole. I learned a new word today, but I definitely didn't assume that it was a racist term. Reporting you to HR before thinking of Googling it definitely makes them the a-hole. Agreed on that, but I was the a-hole for emphasizing being born in Africa and being a person of color, basically asking them not to pull the race card. I still feel a bit bad, lol. When someone is falsely accusing you of being a racist, if using your POC status to defend yourself is the way to get out of it, hell yeah! Especially in the context of work where these things get people fired. Using your race card to defend yourself if you had used an actual racist word would be an a-hole move. Agreed on that. Thanks. I definitely don't use the N-word. Even though I'm technically African, I don't because it's not an Egyptian thing. It's for other African countries, so I don't use it. Just like I wouldn't want a Kenyan using Egyptian and Arab slurs, like we do with each other. G'day there guys, and that's the end of today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it and were entertained by today's bloody good content. As always, I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your beautiful faces and names will be up on screen right now. Haven't forgot about you guys, sorry I was taking a little break there. So yeah, if you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. If you want to be on this screen, there's links down to the description below where you can sign up and help support the channel and all future projects that I'm going to be doing on this one. With all that said, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next episode, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thank you.